Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. This is Rockstar Superhero number 10, and this week's guest is the incomparable Wynter Rhys. We had a great opportunity to get together today, and it literally happened at the last minute. And I mean the last minute. This girl, this young lady, this incredible visionary, this young woman, what can I say about her, man? She's freaking amazing. She's amazing. She makes me mad that I didn't have my crap together when I was 17. She's just really exciting and unique and original and lovely and funny and cute and adorable and short. Sorry, Wynter. She's just a really great up-and-coming filmmaker, and I would not be surprised if I'm the first podcast to get to her before she becomes the next Tarantino, the next Spielberg. I'm telling you, she's really in a class by herself. Her first film done when she was 14. She's on her 6th just now. She's writing her 7th and her 8th. It's the real deal, man. We got together at Pioneer Coffee in North Bend, Washington at her request. Turns out that she had shot a scene in her latest epic, The Fawn Response, at Pioneer Coffee, and she just felt like this is a great place. This is home. And so there we were in a coffee shop, noise, coffee machine, grinder, and lots of people walking around. And yet we had a really great, interesting, fun conversation, and I think you'll really dig it. I think you'll really find a lot of interest in what she has to say. She has an incredible vocabulary. My God, I thought I knew cool words. She's really something. So you're about to dig a very, very cool interview with a very cool young lady. I invite you to check her out. Make sure you check out wynterrhys.com. That's WYNTERRHYS.com. And yes, that is her name. All right, so thanks for joining me. Have a great time listening to this podcast and rock and roll, and yeah. So here's the best part about this whole thing is we're going to completely wing this.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the idea that I don't know very much about you, and I've literally met you like 5 minutes ago.
Likewise.
That's so wild. That's so cool. And I'm so happy because I totally want, and I've wanted to talk to you once I heard about you, and yes, we're rolling. Because there's no fancy with me. We go straight in.
Oh, yeah. That's how I like it. All right.
Yeah, good.
Perfect.
Good. So I'm going to be jockeying. So before we get going here, we got to tell everybody we are at Pioneer Coffee.
Yes, we are. And this place is really, sentimental to me because Pioneer Coffee is where we shot more than 50% of the Fawn Response, which is the latest writing and directing piece that I put out. And so, I have a lot of great memories here of, rearranging it for the film and putting it all back exactly how it was before.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to tell everybody, if you can't figure it out by now, that because we're at a coffee shop, we're inevitably going to hear lots of sound and
Yes.
and joyful noises in the back, like coffee machines rapiditing along and me slurping on water like this.
It's authentic, right?
It's authentic, yeah.
It's really funny because when we were shooting here, they have a ice cream machine that, you don't really notice it, just, having coffee or a cup of coffee talking.
Yeah.
But, when you're shooting, it's like really loud. So I actually had someone that their entire job was to unplug the ice cream machine for every take and plug it back in the moment we said cut.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we gotta set a foundation here because, I know we have limited time and I want to get in a little bit of everything. The one thing that makes this podcast really cool, Wynter, is it's conversational and it's literally a hang. I mean, that's what this is, right? And what's also cool about this is it's an opportunity for people to hear not only about what you're doing, but it's to be encouraged by the fact that you are this extraordinarily talented young lady.
Thank you.
And I don't mean that in an embarrassing or mocking way to call you a young lady. You're just a young lady.
Oh, not at all.
And I even look at you, I look at the work you've already done, and it actually almost makes me sad that I didn't try harder when I was younger. I mean, I've had a successful life. I've done some really, really cool things.
Absolutely.
But I didn't hit it out of the park when I was 17 years old. That blows my mind. And so I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, Wynter Rhys.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rob.
Really, it's amazing. So how did this all start for you? I mean, people they're going to be finding out about you when they hear this podcast. And, you know, we can talk about the Fawn Response. We can talk about the other shorts you shot. But what started it for you? Was it, you know, a certain movie you watched once when you were, say, 4 years old that just freaked you out and changed everything for you? Or was it, you know, like for me, I was 13 and Apocalypse Now came out.
Oh.
And it's still my favorite film.
To this day.
To this day.
Wow.
And I've seen a lot of great films, and I can't wait to talk about, like, things that we think are obscure that other people like, or excuse me, that they don't know about. But for me, Apocalypse Now was the thing that flipped me over, because I went from being a child at that moment. I swear to God, this is true. I went from being a child to on my way to becoming an adult, because the movie challenged me when it was everything from things I'd never seen before. I'd never seen physical violence like that. I'd never seen art presented like that. I'd never seen colors, like a jungle somehow painted purple and blue and gold.
That is the power of film. I feel like film is such an incredible medium, because it can reach kind of those levels of humanity that I feel like, you know, a lot of other mediums can't quite attack in the same sort of way.
Yeah, and you say attack.
I do.
So I love that we're face to face.
Absolutely.
It's so hard to interview people over Skype, you know. So thank you for coming here. I mean, you
You're
really.
very welcome.
I mean,
thank you.
This is crazy. So yeah, take us back a little bit. How
Absolutely.
did it kind of all start for you? You don't have to tell us where you were born and all that junk, but you know what?
Where did my love for film?
Yeah, where did it kick you off?
Well, I think a lot of people have a similar story where, you know, it was a specific film or a specific TV show that really ignited that passion for them. But in my case, I actually didn't grow up with TV hardly at all, or film hardly at all. And it was actually music that was really the direct correlation for film to me. When I was little, I would listen to songs. I really loved Eminem. You know, my parents had no filter on what music I could listen to.
Wait a minute, I got to stop you, because when you just said when you were little,
yes,
you fell in love with Eminem, and I'm like, oh my God, I was almost like a grandfather by the time. Oh, you hurt me. You cut me to the core.
Oh,
okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, but thank you, please.
Tears are good. It's okay. You can
Because
cry.
I am the wrong generation to actually really admire rap. I am. It was just starting. See, I graduated high school in '84.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, it freaks you out. But rap was just starting to become a thing. Breakdancing was just starting to become a thing. And it was, I mean, to everybody in the world, and this wasn't necessarily a quote-unquote a white privilege thing, but I grew up in a very, very white town, right? I mean, I shouldn't say I grew up. I graduated high school in a very white town, Olympia, Washington at the time. And they love the idea of diversity there, and they clearly have a lot of you know, gender diversity, you know, that whole thing is very, very commonplace in Olympia, but it's still a very white town. And so when this happened, nobody understood, you know, again, my generation calls it black culture. We don't use the term African American. It's not offensive to us. It's just black culture. And we didn't get it. And so we thought it was clearly a fad, absolutely a fad. I loved watching the kids doing all the breakdance and the popping moves, but I never got the music, and to this day I struggle with it. But I will say this,
That's so fascinating.
Eminem is awesome. That guy knows how to tell a story, and even though I'm not into the rhymes, I've never been a lyricist, I like the music. I mean, I'm literally listening to the tonality, right? But that guy is for real. So I appreciate him. So the fact that you brought him up. So please continue your story.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Eminem, Jay-Z, Bob Marley, like Nina Simone, all of these things are,
Nina's
stuff
great.
that, oh, yeah, I love Nina. This is the kind of stuff that I was really raised on. And every time I would listen to a song, I would be like inundated with these visuals. And it wasn't until I was probably 14 years old that I realized that those visuals and thinking those things up was actually an occupation, was actually a literal job that you could get hired for. And I was like, oh. So when I was 14, I had this light bulb moment that was more than any idea previous, where I was like, okay, I have to make this. Otherwise, it's going to haunt me. So I made my first short film called Little Red, and it's
which is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And you shot it down at the house off of 202.
Tollgate Farm.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely creepy, you guys, by the way. If you ever drive past that highway and see that house, it is so scary. And I have some funny angry farmer stories to tell about that, too.
Oh, please. Anyway, please indulge us. Continue on. I apologize for interrupting you.
No worries.
That's my nature. I can't help it. I'm a little bit of a narcissist who's got to jump in on occasion, so I apologize.
Oh, it's all good. I'm very talkative, so I understand. Cool. I feel you. But yeah, and that film was a huge learning experience for me because, the film cost $10 in gas to get there and back for 2 days. And I had one other crew member with me who was kind of my camera guy, kind of my producer. Yeah, it was very great learning experience. It was very true, raw indie filmmaking, I guess, so to speak. And I've learned a lot since then.
Yeah, I love it. The editing sequences, the way you put it all together, you really created a story in a very, very short amount of time. And I have some friends, and I'm not going to lambaste them on the internet here, but I have some friends. I have some friends in the film business, and I will tell you that I would say your very first work at a very young age, absolutely challenges these established guys.
Thank you very much.
I mean, I'm willing to tell you this up front, and this is why I wanted you here today, Wynter, because I really want people to know about your work. I want people to discover you. And look, I am a small little indie guy, at least in regards to this podcast. I mean, come on, I don't have a 10 million listenership. I'm a little guy. But it's my hope that people would explore and they would discover you because you've done something outstanding and you continue to increase the skill set. So again, I'm sorry for jumping in, but
don't worry.
Man, I mean, it's great. And yeah, and Tollgate is a perfect place. Did you guys actually go into the basement? Is that an edit?
We did literally go into the basement. It was pretty interesting because there's this, that one movie, I forget what it's called, but the guy's like, get off my lawn, that one.
Are you talking about Gran Torino with Clint Eastwood?
That one, but they also made an animated film called House or something like that.
Oh, I mean, there's so many.
But
knock it.
That stereotype,
so many, it's very much a stereotype.
But there was literally that guy on the property, even though I had gotten permission from the city. He was like, get out, you can't be here. And, I was with this one other crew member and then my mom, and she was kind of like, well, we're just making this thing. And like, this is what, she freaking wrote it, and she's like 14, just, can you just let us do our thing? And he's like, oh, you want the keys? And we're like, yes, we want the keys.
We have this slip that says we can be here.
Yeah.
And
we're
you're 14?
official.
You were 14 when you did that.
I was 14, yes.
My God, what's wrong with you?
A lot. No, I'm kidding.
No, but this blows my mind. So, okay. Yeah, keep telling the story. I mean, unless you're done. But I just want to know, like, how the heck... I mean, you can say you discovered it, but did you go to your parents and say, Mom and Dad, I need you to buy me this gear? Did you get a paper route and go, and go buy a camera? How did that happen?
Well, I had saved through babysitting for an entire summer to get like the cheapest Sony DSLR you could get your hands on. I think it was like $800, something like that. But I believe it really takes just one person to create the domino effect of success. Yeah. And so in this particular case, shout out to Ethan Seneker. This person, we were friends, and he was like, whoa, I had no idea you write scripts. Can I read one? I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't really do scripts, man. I just kind of have this idea. And so I like gave him, my written out visuals, like shot by shot, what I want to do. And he was like, oh my God, we need to do this. Like, I get it's just us, but like literally let's just go and shoot this. You give me shot lists and I'll just be your camera guy and we'll do them. So I had already shot part of the film thus far, and we shot the second part like the next day. And it was really, it's making it sound very nonchalant, but it was actually very difficult. And I realized very quickly that, you know, child actors are really hard to work with. Because our lead actress in this film was 8 years old at the time. And I realized also that, you know, she was more calm and collected when her mom was not on set. And I realized that when her mom went to get lunch, I was like, oh my gosh, she's completely calm. So that was also when I learned kind of people management and who mixes well with who, and when working with actors, who's distracting to them on set and not, pretty early on.
That's incredibly wise, and take your time. I mean, we're no rush, but I used to be a part of a sales team maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, and we were selling life insurance products.
Nice.
Well, once I got out of the music business, I had to do something to make money, right?
Right.
And I did that, but I will tell you, I really admired these people, and I wanted to be around them, but I was intimidated. I was not somehow internally, I had internalized this, I wasn't capable of doing it when they were there. If they were there, I felt like I was being judged in how my presentation went. Even though that's not necessarily at all what they were doing, I felt it like it was searing through me.
Exactly.
Right? And so this child, I guarantee you, they're feeling that feeling of a parent who kind of wants the best for them, but they're also sort of living vicariously through them.
Yes.
And that factor is massive. And it totally, because you know, you're an artist.
Yeah.
When you're an artist, if you're not mentally in the game, you're screwed.
Preach. That is so true.
I mean, screwed. And
even just right now, I'm making sure that I'm viewing this as a conversation, not thinking about the fact that people are going to, you know, be listening to this later. Just like the times I've been on live television, I've been like, okay, it's not live, just talk.
Yeah, it's amazing what gets in your head. You know, my very first podcast is with a gentleman named Jørgen Munkeby. And he's, oh my gosh. He's mind-blowingly incredibly talented and just a really cool guy. And I met him a couple years ago, but having the chance to actually interview him, there was this just weird bundle of nerves about wanting to be on target and to honor his the conversation, to not step on it. But I wanted to poke and prod and ask, but then I was afraid that I would offend him, all that dumb stuff. And it's what happens because people. It's so hard to actually have a conversation when you're doing this, because you kind of want to say what you think you need to say, so people hear it and it triggers them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
so
just be badass, Wynter Rhys.
Thank you.
Because you're badass. You really are, and you're so easy on the mic. So this is great.
Thank you.
So you did Little Red. And then what did that lead to? What sort of notices did you get that led you to the next thing?
Well, I put Little Red out into the world and the internet, and, you know, from the advice of this friend of mine, you know, they were like, you know, the best thing you could do is just like put yourself out there, because really there is no method to success in film other than who you know and the quality of work you create. And in his opinion, I had the quality, so I had to just put it out there and let people see it. So I joined every film Facebook group and I posted it to the world, and people were kind of like, what? She's 14. This is really creepy. Like, I have to figure it out. And I think, you know, understandably, a lot of people are like, okay, this might be a one-hit wonder. And then other people are like, okay, I want to get on this train before it really gets going, right?
Right.
So it kind of created a slew of quiet observers who were watching from far away, and also people who really stepped in and were like, you know, I want to work with you. Willing to work with you for free. What do you have to show me? So I kind of, I had, let me see, about 3 scripts written up, and one of them was called Dear Society, and it's about this girl who has a conversation with a personified society as if it's like a person, a singular person that she can kind of ask, you know, why do I have to be perfect? Why do you expect me to be all of these things that are impossible to reach for a woman, a man, anything in between? It's just crazy what society, you know, pushes down on us and represses us as people. And so, you know, we shot that second of all, and once again, that was a big learning experience as well.
There's a lot of people in that too.
There is a lot of
How
people
did you?
in that.
I don't want to sidetrack you again, but did you shoot that at Mount Si? Where did you shoot that to get that crowd? Because that's an insanely large
that crowd. Yes. Okay. I have someone specific to thank for that. So I thoroughly believe in giving credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
About 10 of the people in that audience were from me. The rest, like 95 people, Rochelle Henry brought in, and she's my talented actress friend, and she brought in people from the Seattle Film Institute on about a day, 2 days notice, I think.
Wow.
And we were all really anxious because we had no idea how many people were actually going to show up on the day of for no compensation. Like I'm a very straightforward person, so I'm like, no compensation, no nothing. I don't want to cheat people of their time or make people feel lied to. So we were on the day of, and like it was getting closer and closer to shooting. We only had like 20 people in the audience, and I was like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? And then randomly a flood of people showed up, and they were all signing release forms on their way in the door and all this stuff. And then it was really sweet because after the fact, there was like a line of literally, I kid you not, like 50 people like waiting in line to meet me, which was like amazing. And then there was like these little kids who were like wanting to take pictures with me, and it was just this very humbling moment, I think.
Yeah, but it's an experience for them, and I mean, especially as an American woman, that this country loves celebrity, the idea of celebrity.
Definitely,
and if
we
they
do.
can even remotely have a chance to say they got their 15 minutes. Right, they're in the background of some film. Look, there I am, fourth red,
Hi, Mom.
fourth red shirt back. Right,
Exactly.
I mean that's crazy,
Yeah.
So you didn't have to worry from a. I know it's not necessarily a SAG thing, but you didn't have to worry about extras or compensation for extras. They just sign the waiver and it says not a requirement.
Yeah, and everyone knew that prior, but signing it was really official, and we had a lot of under 18-year-olds, so there's a lot of parents coming through and signing as well, and stuff like that. And I knew going into it that I needed about 3 close-ups of the audience members as well, aside from this big, massive shot. And so I knew that when I was going to get there, I was going to have to quickly decide what kids called out to me that I would get close-ups of. I'd literally have to like scan the audience, be like, okay, DP, I need you to, shoot it exactly like this, make sure this person's in frame and this person's not in frame, and it's, they're breaking the fourth wall. And so it was pretty funny because one of the little girls who really called out to me, her eyes just burned right through the camera to the audience. I brought her onto the Fawn Response as an extra in a much smaller number. She was one of only 6 extras that were like really highlighted in the film. And then she went on to star as a lead in 2 other films of mine. She blows my mind.
Wow. So wait a minute. I know you've done a few films. How many have you done?
Oh.
You got like 14.
Hold up. Let me see. So Little Red, Dear Society, The Fawn Response, something called Sato that I did through something called 13 Chambers, and it's an anthology. So that's 4. And then I have 2 48 hours that I just did. So that is 6 films.
That's killer. And you said you're 17 right now. You haven't turned 18 yet.
Not yet. On December 20th, I will be 18.
That is insane. So, but the Fawn Response is the one that has kind of pushed you up a level, right? Is that am I right on that?
Absolutely, because I feel like, Dear Society is not yet released, and Little Red was like slayed the youth festival circuit, but youth is not what I'm looking to grow into.
Right.
So the Fawn Response, which is about 2 serial killers who meet over coffee because they've targeted the same victim by mistake, and they sit down to talk about it.
I love that idea.
Thank you. It's really, I think, catapulted me into the adult world a lot more, and I feel more comfortable in the adult world, actually. I feel like it just works for me a lot better as a person. I get along there better.
Yeah, your age belies you.
Thank you.
I mean, I would have never known this had somebody not told me that you were as young as you were. And again, this isn't meant to make you
don't worry.
uncomfortable.
No,
You
not
just
at
certainly you don't look 17. You clearly don't write like a kid. I hate the term kid. It's it sounds a little derogatory, but you're just. Clearly, you are comfortable in that space. What happened that got you comfortable in that space? Meaning, were your parents really? They saw they recognized what you liked, and they kind of just pushed you and said, "You know what you need to do, honey? You need to watch Taxi Driver." I mean, what did they do that got you focused?
I mean, I'm so lucky because they're such open-minded people, and they recognize the differences in their children. I have a little brother and he's 9, and he is so comfortable to like not be crazy and creepy, and he's just very comfortable to just like, he's just such a different kind of human being, and they've respected that just as much as they respected me being different. So, you know, he wants to stay in public school, and they've respected that. But, you know, me, I had to be pulled out of school for most of my life because it just, you know, wasn't working for me. And so I think part of that comfortableness in the adult world being fostered just came from my parents recognizing that I was different and never making me feel strange or uncomfortable, or feeling like different is a derogatory term placed on me.
Right. Well, you're not. You know what I mean? I mean, you are different in the sense that you are very mature, you know, and your writing is really focused. Again, this is only the things I've seen yet. I'm hoping to get some screeners here after this.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't.
Hey, guys, I promise it's good.
Yeah. But everything I've read, and certainly everything I've seen.
Thank you.
And I don't know. I know you just talked about it a second ago. The societal. What's that story called again?
Oh, Dear Society.
Dear Society. Okay. So I watched the trailer for that, and that it actually really hit a nerve for me.
Oh, thank you.
And so I really that's kind of something I really want to see. I mean,
Oh,
I know about the
absolutely.
Fawn Response, but of course I was like going to beg you last night to like, can you send me an MP3 or something? Can I see it? But gosh, I mean, this is so insane. I could talk in circles. So I apologize for that.
Oh, not at all. No worries.
I don't know. Let's go back to your film. I don't want to take this too off tangent. So you did the Society film, and then Fawn Response was next. And did you say you have not released still to this day, or was that just prior because you hadn't released before the Fawn Response, and then the Fawn Response kind of hit a note?
Dear Society has still not been released,
Okay.
and the Fawn Response is not publicly released due to the festival circuit, but it's all around the festival circuit. I believe it's screened in Los Angeles and Hollywood twice, and it's going to be screening in New York and Italy very soon, like in a couple of
So
weeks
badass.
and months. Thank
So
you.
badass. Did you get Sundance? I thought I'd heard through the grapevine that you did, but not yet.
Through the grapevine, there is some talk of me wanting to join and be a part of some Sundance labs that are like really exciting, really great opportunities. And I believe I have some people vouching for me that side of it. But I have not submitted the Fawn Response to Sundance yet. I'm planning on submitting it and seeing what goes down.
Right. Well, it seems to me that there's this incredible groundswell that would probably find its way there, no problem.
Thank you.
But you gotta get it out there, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
what's your fears as a filmmaker? Do you feel that you're not yet mature enough to do certain things, or you're like, screw this, I'm just gonna keep going, keep burning, and fail in a sense in front of people? Because you and I both know, much younger, regardless, you know that you never learn without failure.
Absolutely. not,
Right.
yeah.
The shot mistakes you make, or a writing mistake, or an editing mistake, or a sound design mistake. And sound design, it's clearly your thing.
Thank you. I love sound design.
That's-
It's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah, and it's my favorite thing in movies.
Oh, great.
Absolutely. Like that's why I so love David Lynch, because you can close your
Yeah.
eyes and you know what's going on in the movie.
Absolutely.
Right. So what kind of fears do you have, or do you have any at the moment?
I think, I have the natural human instinct, fear of failure in general. But I think as far as the kind of stories that I'm telling and how raw and visceral they are, especially the feature film that I'm writing right now that I'll talk about soon.
Please.
I'm very fearless when it comes to if it will be too intense for the audience or not, because I for some reason am not afraid of that. But what I am afraid of is that it won't be intense enough, and I am failing and dishonoring the stories I'm trying to tell and the people viewing them, and wasting their time. That has not happened yet, but, as I'm writing this feature that's very, based off a true story, it's very intense, I always am checking myself, am I being as harsh as the real truth was? Am I being as intense as it actually went down? I always have to make sure that I'm not selling anything short Yeah.
Wow. So where do these stories come from? You just said that this idea that you're working on right now is a true story.
It is.
So
This is going to be the first place I've talked about it. Ooh, exclusive.
ladies and gentlemen, rockstar superheroes break. This is the one that pushes me out. Yeah, tell me. Tell me.
It has the working title of Subject 11, but I can see that title changing. It's also had the title verbatim, which means word for word. So I'm messing around with titles right now, but I think a title is going to be the last thing that I really latch on to once I'm done with the script completely. But the story is based off a true story, unfortunately, and it is based on this young artist, and he is 20 years old, and his life is this kind of sick chess game, and he views all the people in his life as, these kind of subjects for real-life experiments, so he can then write better scripts. And he's so deeply involved in what it means to be an artist that it kind of drags him down deeper and deeper into this dark state of mind.
Oh my gosh. Wait, so have you ever seen Fade to Black?
I have not.
Oh my god.
Is it really good? Fade to Black?
Yeah, 1980.
Let me write this down.
Yeah. And it's funny because anybody my age, they might recall Fade to Black. It was a movie that was about the movies, and it was about the obsession.
Absolutely.
You'll love it.
Oh my gosh, I love it already.
It's about a man who grows up with a hateful mother. Who all he does is he escapes life with his obsession with film, but he's bullied, and he's bullied his whole life. It's actually the first. It's the first movie that Mickey Rourke's in, and it features a young man named Dennis Christopher who was in Breaking Away. It was a bicycle movie. You might know it. I'm not sure, but anyway, ultimately, it's about a man who loses his mind and starts murdering people as the characters in the films he's watching.
Oh
it's
my god,
killer! Oh
that's
my
absolutely
god,
brilliant.
It's so great, and it's so scary and wicked and mean. It's just mean, and I love mean movies.
Me too.
I want movies to kind of hurt my feelings a bit.
Have you seen We Need to Talk About Kevin?
No.
Oh, so
Wait
good.
a minute. Let me write that down. That's my turn.
Right, your turn. No, it's absolutely incredible. It's not quite as involved in the escapism, so to speak, of art, but it's still very intense and very much about the human condition. What happens when people go wrong?
Right.
Which I love. Because if you think about it, human beings are so fascinating because we make such incredible stuff like art. But, we also do such horrible things to each other. So when you juxtapose those two things, I think it makes a really incredible story.
Yeah. I think the struggle is most people are not willing to let the demons out, right? Whether they're personal demons or their ideas or thoughts that they're afraid, of people seeing a work or an idea or a thought that comes from them, and then that automatically must signify who that person is, and that's not necessarily the case. David Lynch, let's go back to David Lynch. He's famous for a lot of different works, but his sort of masterwork, Blue Velvet, back in the mid-'80s, it's really dark and creepy and uncomfortable, and obviously there's rape and murder and these terrible things, and a lot of people really accused him of being, a very damaged man. Who would come up with these ideas? Because it's an original work.
I must be a very damaged woman.
Right. But the thing is but it's not. I mean, I've met David Lynch, and he is normal.
Yeah.
I mean, he really is, as Mel Brooks called him, Jimmy Stewart from Mars. He's an oddball, but he's actually this normal guy. He just lets ideas flow, and he's not afraid of embracing those ideas. And it's not to say that as human beings we're all dark inside, but we all have stuff.
Absolutely.
And it's really hard, I think, to let them out. So you're a brave artist because you're pulling these ideas out, and you're just saying, let the chips fall where they may. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, this kind of circles back around to the fear and or lack of fear about being so intense in my films. As long as I'm being honest with myself, and I'm, not making a story less painful than it really was, but also not doing something just for the shock factor, which I think can be just as bad.
Yeah.
And just keeping it in that middle ground of being really just honest storytelling.
Yeah, my problem with a lot of movies nowadays is, you've heard the term torture porn.
Yes.
there's a really big push.
Yeah, definitely.
Towards being
Violent.
just violent for the sake of being violent.
Yes.
And some guys do it right. I'm not a big fan of it, even when it's done right.
Yeah.
Eli Roth, for example, he does it
Absolutely.
right, but I just don't want to watch people in misery. Not for
Just to be in misery, yeah.
Just to be right for the extended
If
period
they're
of
in
time.
misery for a good reason, then
Right.
I'll by all means.
Right. I mean, but there's no catharsis in it, and that's what makes a great movie, is something that takes you through something and pulls you out the other side. It doesn't necessarily have to be a happy ending. I mean, Insomnia is a perfect example of something that's
Absolutely.
not happy at all, but you don't have to stay there.
No,
you know?
not at all. And maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I am definitely one to favor the non-happy endings.
Same here.
You know,
stuff.
I actually had this epiphany because I've been trying to write Subject 11 for about a year now, even though the real life incidents occurred about 2 years ago. I really wanted to. I've been trying to write this for quite some time, and I was really caught up on the ending because as a person in that scenario, I didn't get closure. And so how am I going to give the film closure? And then I realized, it doesn't need closure. And that's, the closest thing to real life is, life ends in the middle of a sentence, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I actually really have a soft spot for that.
Yeah, The Sopranos. Life ends in the middle of a sentence.
Absolutely.
Wow. So what sort of influences, what influenced you to be this ferocious and this fearless? It can't just be your upbringing, because you're very safe and you grew up in a suburban environment, and you're very clearly intelligent. You have a great,
Thank you.
Great vocabulary. What is it that did it for you?
I have a couple different answers for that question. I think the first one is the fact that I did grow up in a safe neighborhood, and my mom growing up never let me forget that she didn't, and made sure that I knew my privilege within that, because she was homeless most of her life and grew up in really rough neighborhoods, and my grandma's from Chicago and all this stuff. And, it kind of draws a line straight back to that. And, on my dad's side, wasn't homeless, but, didn't have the healthiest family. And so both my parents were strong enough people to break their own cycles.
Okay.
In my mom's sense, the cycle of poverty that can continue to oppress people over many generations. And on my dad's side, the cycle of abuse. My parents were strong enough people to stop that, which is very hard to do. It's very easy to fall into what you come from.
Yeah.
And so I, was growing up with the stories of their past and realizing how fortunate I am within those things. And by the way, I have an extra 20 minutes.
Oh,
so
no, that's
we're
fine.
good.
That's great. I was like, I'm trying to monitor that because I want to, I want to honor your time.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to distract you.
Oh,
Please.
no worries.
Yeah.
What was the question again?
It's so funny. I was gonna go, and that's it. No, well, it was just about where you came from, and you were talking about your
Right.
parents and that combination of things. And the funny thing is I call them strongholds. You might not have heard that term, at least in relation to this before, but it's like from let's people are gonna instantly shut this off as soon as I say this. From a biblical perspective, this is called strongholds, and the idea being that family sin. I love that idea. Family sin is carried from generation to generation. It's
Wow.
called the sins of the father, right?
Interesting, yeah.
And so you hear about this where children have grown up in abusive households, sexually or alcohol, whatever, you name it, and then the children become that. And it continues that cycle of violence, that cycle of whatever, fear, hatred.
Definitely. I think it takes a very strong person to bring that cycle to a halt.
And so it sounds to me that your parents broke that cycle for both of themselves, and then you were the catalyst that shot out of that.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. I can attest to that.
Right?
Absolutely.
And your brother sounds like just a healthy young boy.
He's so chill, and he's a very creative kid, but he's definitely very more normal and collected. And when I was a kid, I had OCD, anxiety, put every kind of thing.
But you don't. I'm sorry but you don't, Wynter. You don't have OCD and all these other things. You're just a normal person. You are. You're just a normal person. You're just you.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm not trying to, again, berate anything, but this society, especially in the past 20 years, has said that when children are motivated by other factors, or they're restless, or they're not learning like the rest, there must be something wrong with them, and that's such bullshit. That is so not true.
Preach.
You're just a real young lady with a skill set that says, I can't be bothered with this. I'm not interested in that. I'm clearly focused over here, and I'm going in that direction.
Thank you.
And what it took was you saying, school doesn't work for me, and your parents agreeing.
Absolutely. Yeah, they thoroughly agreed. And, it definitely was frustrating that, just because I had goals and was, more on the hyperactive side that, I must have ADHD and all this stuff.
Yeah.
The OCD thing is very true. It was definitely a battle that I have overcome personally, but that's okay, right?
That's okay.
All artists have
the ADD
something.
stuff is bullcrap.
No, definitely bullshit. I know so many brilliant creative minds who've had that label placed on them. Just because they operate the way that they do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally me. I am the worst. I mean, if you saw me when I'm 10, actually, you see me last year. I am still completely out of control.
Same.
It's hard to be married to me. I can tell you that. My poor wife. It's hard to be fathered by me. My kids are all maniacs, but you just have to embrace who you are and be who you are. So. Again, going down the influential road.
Yes. Oh, right. Influences. That's right.
What hit you? What just woke you up?
What woke me up? So this is an interesting thing. As far as speaking about directorial and video influences, it's actually been more of pieces throughout my entire life rather than specific directors. Because I know so many people are like, oh, it's specifically Spielberg, it's specifically Quentin Tarantino. I do love him. But, it's all these specific people. But in my case, it's been for example, oh my gosh, 3 years ago, I saw this short film online. I believe it was based out of Germany. And it was just this girl hung herself in the middle of the film. They did it really beautifully. It wasn't graphic. It was the most beautiful suicide I've ever seen in a film. And it was just, we followed her body on its way to the morgue. And that was just the whole film.
Wow.
And it's stuff like that just really inspires me. And, like you were talking about earlier before we got this rolling, as a director, unless you're at that Spielbergian, so to speak, level, you won't be recognized. And even now, thinking about how much that film moved me, I couldn't recall the director's name, and nobody could. Yeah. But it really, truly affected me. And it's that small level stuff like that from my whole life that's really, influenced the way I want to tell stories.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, see, what's cool is you're at that age where you are embracing technology, social media, and you have something like YouTube as a medium to get your work out there. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, if it's done right, I mean, I'm not going to make fun of Justin Bieber, but, I mean, if it's done right, your material's out there and it's kind of over, right? Somebody just finds you and says, okay, I gotta know more. I gotta work with her. Do you have representation? And maybe you talk to people at some of the major firms like CAA or because to me, you need an agent.
Yeah. I haven't taken the step of reaching out to some of those bigger corporations yet because I really want my feature to be written before I dive into that. But I do have something coming up, and I can't talk too much about it, but I'm going to be co-directing alongside a very talented individual who it really is on the same creepy wavelength as me artistically. And it's going to be going up on a channel with over 500,000 subscribers, which is going to be exciting. It's not in the millions, but it's, vastly more than what
more
my
than I have.
Stuff.
I don't have 500,000 subscribers. I would kill for 500,000.
I know, right? So I'm really looking forward to that. And, having my style be in a medium that I've not done before, which is TV series episodics sort of things, because what's really important to me is that people see that my signature style can transcend and adapt to a bunch of different stuff. It can be a narrative short like the Fawn Response. It's very dialogue heavy, and it can be a feature that is raw and emotional, and it can be an episodic, and it can be even a comedy. Different things like that.
Yeah.
Comedies.
Do you find that it's required, at least that your style fits a specific genre? I mean, it seems definitely more horror / drama focused, right? Or thriller. There's definitely an edge to it, and edge isn't typically found in drama or children's stories,
Thank
right?
you.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, are you just drawn in that direction? You say, look, I've kind of got to do. I have to do dark stories.
I am drawn in that direction, and if I were to, if a comedy was to be put in my hands, I would honor that. And I would make it, I would focus more on my signature style within the pacing rather than in the visuals and the mood, because I don't want to shape a comedy into something dark if it shouldn't be dark. I want to honor the client or whoever's handing that script to me. But as far as when I'm writing my own scripts and directing for my own writing, I definitely like to keep it in that, coming of age drama, that humanity, that side of things. And by coming of age, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Kids or the movie White Girl that just came out.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. It's like coming of age can be cocaine. It can be, sex and rock and roll and all this crazy heartbreak. And I love stuff like that. And I feel like that's the best kind of canvas to paint my style on.
Yeah,
too.
Kids is definitely groundbreaking. I mean, between Harmony Korine's work and Larry Clark's work.
Absolutely.
That's one of the few movies I've ever watched that I was just aghast. Like the whole time. I was just like, I'm so glad I am not a kid now. Like in this world where all of this sort of unsavory stuff is going on.
Yeah.
I mean, because you've seen the movie, and anybody listening, if you haven't seen it, I challenge you to watch it, because even the first 5 minutes when those two kids are making out on that bed, just kissing, just 5 minutes of them kissing, I was just
this is real life,
it was
right?
so real and intimate, and I just felt really, really yucky, actually. And so that's really challenging.
It is very challenging, and I think that's going to be my challenge when writing Subject 11 and continuing to finish that film, because, it's, real life is quite grotesque, and there's a lot of that, intimacy and harshness to that film that I think I'm going to have to really try to honor the truth of the story, but also prepare for the backlash of that.
Yeah. So because it's a true story, I'm assuming you've got the approval or rights from the person whose story it is. I mean, how does that work in sort of getting the release to talk about quote unquote their story?
Well, I don't know, because the story happened to me.
Oh.
So
Okay.
I think I'll give myself the rights.
I cannot believe I didn't even think of that.
There's no worries at all. The person that I'm writing the story about, obviously I got no closure, so I'm not in contact with this person. Unfortunately, I would actually love to be able to pick their brain and figure out why, so I can, write it. But at the same time, I don't think I'd want to, because I think the beauty of the story is that the main character, she doesn't know why she has become one of these subjects to this person. She doesn't know why, life has to play out so unfairly. And I think that's going to be kind of the string that really carries throughout the whole story, is that life doesn't give you that answer.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
And guys, you heard it here first. The story's about Wynter.
Oh my God.
That's
Shocker.
That's no, but I mean, I don't know. I somehow made this assumption it was going to be somebody here in the valley that you knew a story about, and they said, "Hey, Wynter, why don't you write a story about this?" You know what I mean?
No, that's what makes it so hard. I think if it was someone else's story, I could, pick their brain and let them cry on my shoulder, so to speak, and really just hash out all those details. But because it is something that I experienced, I'm having to deal with, things like memory repression and how to pull that out, and things like that. So it's going to be very personal, and it's definitely every day that I chip away at that story, it's definitely, it's, my most probably, emotional 2 hours of the day where I'm writing this out. I'm like, whew, fan in my face,
Yeah. I will. So as your new friend, I would encourage you highly to be as raw and real and relentless as possible. And there will be backlash.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And there will be people, most of them will be your friends and family who will go, Wynter, dude, What the fuck? I mean, seriously, they're gonna do that.
Yeah.
And because maybe they don't know the whole truth. Maybe they don't want to know the whole truth.
Yeah.
You know, and it's but the thing is you know, the beauty is, and I applaud you. I love
you.
that this is actually your story that you're telling me about, because what's going to happen is somebody who has gone through something similar in whatever this is.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it. Is
gonna
going
pick
to
up on that.
right? They're going to say,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, this is me."
Yeah, and I think
she survived this. I can survive this, and I love that because I mean we're made to come before others, right? We're made to lead, and the world is populated. You've heard the 80-20 rule, right? Are you familiar with that? Okay,
yeah.
so inside the 20%, there's another 80-20. Okay, so all of a sudden it's the 95-5 rule.
Yeah.
Right, and then inside that there's another 80-20, and that's like the 97-3 rule. And so I adhere to the 97-3 rule. Okay, and so my belief is that everybody in the world is 97% of something. I call myself 97% badass. Okay,
woo, preach.
but that 3% that I'm missing is gone. I mean, it's missing. Like, I cannot have it because nobody can be 100%.
Nobody can be whole. And I think, you know, in this current, you know, society that we're living in, especially like millennials, ghosting, I don't know if you've heard that term, is a huge thing.
I don't know what it is.
So ghosting, it means that, you know, you could have a relationship with somebody, whether that's a friendship, no matter how deep it is. You could be friends with them for 4 years, 10 years, 1 month, doesn't matter. When contact suddenly drops out, that is called ghosting. And it's a huge phenomenon that's happening tons of millennials now that we have like cell phone and stuff like that.
Right.
Where if there's an issue, people can just drop a friendship wholly and completely, or a relationship.
Because it's easier?
Yeah, because it's easier. And I think ghosting is like a huge phenomenon right now. And I'm going to be weaving a lot of that into this film. And another aspect about it is I really wanted to raise the film, Subject 11, to raise awareness for disabled people.
Awesome.
Because something that not a lot of people know about me is that I have a rare genetic condition that is a disability that causes me a lot of pain on a daily basis. And so you might see on my Facebook that there's pictures of me in crutches or in a wheelchair, like when I was in New York. And it's a big part of my personal story. And so the lead female character, not the lead male, the lead female in Subject 11 is going to be progressively dealing with this throughout the whole film. It's a big part of her character. So while he's mentally broken and deteriorating, she's physically broken and deteriorating. So it's kind of this juxtaposition between the two main characters.
Wow. I just want to watch it now.
Thank you. Hey, if any producers are listening to this, please give me a call.
Yeah. I'm like over here going, yo, I'll do it.
Me.
No, that's great. So you do your own sound design.
I do, yeah.
So how did you learn that, and what sort of process is that for you? I mean, how does that work for you? Do you go out and, because, you know, I think of Star Wars, okay?
Right.
When the guy was hitting the cables that hold the telephone poles up to make the sounds of the lasers, the pew 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 sound, right? You know, and so how do you find sounds? How do you create sounds?
Absolutely. I really love, you know, slowing down, speeding up, reversing, you know, sounds and sounds that are natural. I also really love using things that you wouldn't necessarily put to the visuals you're seeing, but that subconsciously really, really work and really make you uncomfortable. For example, in the 48 I did, we had a little girl spinning in a white dress, beautiful white dress, out in this field, and I put the sound of a music box being twisted up to like so it was like like, you know, and it's so subtle that you're not watching and going, oh, that's a music box, you know, but it just kind of gives you a feeling, you know, or, you know, these nightmarish horsemen in the next scene, you know, when they stand up, their spines are clicking like a pen when they're going up, you know, stuff like this.
Were you literally with a pen?
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And, you know, of course I slow it down to make it more like
right.
Yeah, but how did I teach myself? Oh my gosh. So for Little Red, I had a friend who edited as well, and they were like, hey, I have this like huge pack of sounds, you know, some ones that you buy and then you get like all the rights to them. They're like, hey, I could just like email them to you. So I kind of like sifted through all of these sounds, and I did use some of them, but like not all of them were what I was looking for. And I was realizing that like I'm actually not partial to the cinematic sound, where it's like
the
boom, boom,
Wilhelm
boom.
scream.
Yeah, exactly. That was precious. No.
Yeah.
And I just really wanted to use unnatural sounds to natural things. In Little Red, when the little girl sets her hand down on this broken down bus and it's symbolic, there's this kind of this like it's so subtle, but I guess I base all of my sound design on psychology. I really love psychology.
Yeah, there's a scene. So I watched the short, and there's a scene when she's dragging her hand along that metal. I think it's metal.
Yes, it is.
And you have this really unique sound profile that's happening during that. And all I could think of, again, I keep going back to Lynch, but I was like, okay, this is like a cross between a David Lynch movie and Tetsuo the Iron Man. Have you ever seen Tetsuo? Oh, God bless you, young lady.
My first film I ever saw was Hayao Miyazaki's Totoro.
Oh, really?
That was my first one. It was like my favorite. I love all of his films. They're very creepy and very intense. And I really just, not to generalize any kind of film from any specific place or group of people, but I really love Japanese horror. It's so artfully done. It remains this touch of beauty throughout the gruesomeness, which I really hope to embody. But yeah, back to sound design, I really love human voices. So all the time I'll record a lot of my own voice as well and mix it. Like, for example, in the Fawn Response, I don't want to spoil anything. Basically, one character says, "Hey, are you all right?" to our lead character who's going crazy. And after she says this word, you hear like, "Are you all right? Are you all right? Are you?" Like all these different tones. It's just very like creepy and sort of, schizophrenic sounding in its nature. And I really just love human voices in sound design.
I love that. Well, I will tell you some movies, if you haven't seen them, you need to see them. So are you a Takashi Miike fan? Do you know who he is?
I don't actually.
Okay.
Takashi
so
Miike.
So it's Miike. Miike. He's the most prolific Japanese filmmaker there is. I think he's made 140 films in about 20 years. Think about that.
Let me see.
Think about that, Wynter. How do you do that? And some of his films are masterworks. I mean, truly masterworks. Some of them are atrocious. It's because there's so much output. Okay,
yes.
but they are all radical artistic ideas. And so I would tell you, if you haven't seen it, and it's one of the most offensive, disturbing, maybe even disgusting films ever.
Really?
It's called Ichi the Killer.
Ichi the Killer. Let me write this down.
It starts out with a rape, which,
Ichi
so,
the Killer.
for those people who are freaked out by violence, it's extraordinarily violent. And I'm not telling you don't watch this movie for...
downtime.
But for the thrill, like the whole idea of watching something that's, like, yeah, all right, rape. I mean, it's not like that at all.
Rape scenes are so tricky too because I don't know if you've ever seen The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yes.
But I thought that rape scene was really well done because it was hard to watch, which is what I look for.
Yeah.
Because I've seen so many films where the rape scenes are like,
it's almost supposed to be like titillating, and it should never be titillating.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're making 50 Shades of Grey, it should not be. And
right.
It's very unsettling to me when it's like, it's not aiming to be sexual, but it's also not grotesque, and it's just like this weird middle ground of like being like,
it's safe,
and it's kind of palatable, but you're also kind of uncomfortable. It's not good, and I feel like it's very hard to make a scene like that well done, and hard to watch, which I love when it's hard to watch because that's true.
Irreversible, is hard to watch.
Absolutely,
and that's a real. I mean, I don't know why we're on the subject of rape, because by the way, folks, rape not cool. So I don't. Yeah, I certainly. I'm really cautious about watching films, at least in that when something like that occurs, the last thing I want it to do is to be titillating. I don't want to feel like I'm so much like watching it in a documentary style. I want to be disgusted by it, because it's a terrible act, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I also, as a human being, want the perpetrator to be, brutalized somewhere down the road to pay for that sin, right? Just that human response to say, that's not okay. You've left that person damaged forever, because we know rape is something that you carry with you for the remainder of your days. Some people respond to it more than others, but it's something that goes with you.
That's another interesting thing, is how human beings like respond to trauma in general in their like different ways. That's something that I really want to embody in kind of in all of my films in general, is, when a horrible thing happens, how do people scatter, so to speak, because I know I would respond very differently than maybe my friend would, or maybe you would, it's so case by case.
Yeah. Well, so then to go back to Takashi Miike real quick, you definitely need to see Audition if you haven't seen it. Audition's really his masterwork.
Wow.
It's his Blue Velvet. And what it's about, so I'll be very cautious in what I do not want to give away. But it's about a man whose wife passes away, and he's a film producer, he figures, I got to keep busy. One of his buddies says to him one day when he's on set, he says, why don't you just make up a fake movie and audition girls? I know.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
That's
so
Wynter.
messed up. It's so good.
It's so messed up. But the thing is he doesn't mean it to be messed up. His friends, of course, are thinking it salaciously, like, hey, maybe you can audition all these beautiful girls, and then you can pick the hot one, and you can have a sexual relationship with her because she's hot and she's young, and it won't matter.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm actually looking for love. And then what comes from that is just insane.
I'm watching this tonight.
So insane. It's one. I just can't wait for you to call me up and go, dude, seriously, why did you? Because it just goes down a very, very intriguing road.
Yes.
So that and there's 3 movies I want you to see of his. Actually 4. So you got Ichi the Killer, you got Audition, got the 13 Assassins, which is a samurai film.
I have seen that, actually.
And it's gorgeous.
Yes, seriously.
Beautifully shot and very, very and fun to watch. It's on Netflix right now, I think.
Oh, nice.
And then
Netflix and Hulu is just everything right now.
Yeah,
Crazy.
It's great. And then the last one is Happiness of the Katakuris.
Happiness of the Katakuris.
Yes, and that is about a family that starts a B&B / onsen up in the mountains of Japan. And so the idea is... Yeah. Hi, sugoi. So what's cool about it is, in Japanese culture, if something bad occurs on your property, you're to shut it down.
Yeah.
Because so the idea is if something bad happens, right, people will never come there because somebody died there or whatever, right? It's the whole what's the word? All of a sudden I can't think about it.
Superstition.
Yeah, superstition. Thank you. There was a roller coaster in Osaka that 2 or 3 girls were killed on back in maybe 2005, 2006, and when that happened, the park never regained its status, and then about 5 years ago it shut down, all because somebody died at the park a decade ago. People just stopped going because of the superstition that the park is now sort of surrounded by ghosts, and it's not just economics. A lot of people think, especially Japan as a culture, they think it's the economy, because the economy is so difficult, but it's not. The things that happen when regarding superstition and symbolism and those subcultures, it's crazy. So you need to watch Happiness. Yeah,
I just took a look at this Osaka roller coaster accident. It's pretty scary when something that happy becomes abandoned.
Yeah.
Of the 2 48 hours that I did, the latest one was called Kinopsia, which means in no particular language. It's from an article called 50 emotions humans feel but can't explain, and someone invented all these words.
Wow.
Kind of public domain. So it's called Kinopsia. What that means is, the uncanny feeling when a bright and bustling place is suddenly empty and desolate.
Nice.
So that reminds me of that. It's very accurate.
So you love vocabulary.
I do. Yes.
I have a giant vocabulary, and you're introducing me to words I've never heard.
Why, thank you.
So
words are beautiful.
What can you tell us about what's coming up? I mean, clearly you have this new movie you're writing. do you intend this to be a feature-length film?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so how are you getting funding? I saw that you on your other I'm sorry again, the high school, the movie.
No worries, Dear Society.
Dear Society, thank you.
Yeah,
I
we
saw
did
you had an
crowdfunding on
Indiegogo.
that.
Yeah.
I've, from speaking to people that I trust who are more experienced than me and who have, are older than me, have been in the industry longer, I've been advised to not crowdfund the feature and to instead get, money from private investors.
Right.
I'm writing another feature called The Id that's much bigger and it's just, I'm not even going to go into it because it's something that's so massive in the concept, like Star Wars and something like that it's not even worth going into. But, for that one, for The Id, I've been advised to, obviously wait till have made a couple other features under my belt, which I thoroughly agree because that film is going to be around the 35 million mark.
Right.
And then as far as, Subject 11, I think definitely 35,000 will be totally good. So I'm, looking for, a budget from private investors as we speak, and I will not shoot the film until that's done because although I'm very highly grateful for all of the people who've donated their time for all of my zero budget projects in the past, I really just want to pay the people that work hard for me.
Absolutely.
So budget with an investor is going to be really important to me.
I love the fact that you are wise enough to understand the business aspect of this and that you looked at this and said, okay, I'm going to need 35 million, and that's in today's dollars. Yeah. Right? I mean, you've actually figured that out. That blows my mind because most people will say they have this project and they know what they're going to create, but they sort of somehow think that it's going to magically occur and that the money will find it and or they'll find a way through the budget, right? That's what most people do. They never begin with the end in mind. They just begin and throw caution to the wind. And granted, there's something to be said about that. There's a little bit of bravery, but there's there's a lot of stupidity behind that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And now that you've been there, it's foolish to go there.
I've been there, and to a certain extent, I think it's great to go there. For my first film wouldn't have been made without it, and the Fawn Response was zero budget, and I don't think would have been done without that bravery to just go for it. But now that I want to integrate into the adult world of filmmaking and that, the Fawn Response has kind of been that bridge to the adult world, I really just want to, make something that, where I can pay everybody and make it, even a heightened level of professional environment than my sets have been before. And, in the case of Subject 11, I'm going to be editing it myself and I won't need to pay myself. And, so I think all of that money is truly going to be going to paying cast and crew and really having casting calls where I can literally just weed out everybody but the most perfect two individuals with the perfect chemistry together for that role. Because that's going to be highly, highly important. I think
it's your story.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if they lack chemistry, then the whole purpose of the story kind of falls out the window.
Yeah. Wow. Do you intend on doing it with youthful actors, or do you intend on doing it, projecting your story into a middle-aged group, 35 to 50?
I really want to keep the coming-of-age element to it, so I do want my actors to be young, but legally, because of what I will be shooting, I will need the female actress to be 21. But, I want her to be, passing for around 16 in her age, if not younger, and I want the guy to be passing for around 19, 20.
Okay.
But that's not to be confused that I'm aiming for a teen audience, because I'm definitely not.
Yeah.
But I do want to keep that a little bit more of a youthful cast.
Yeah. Wow. I'm so excited about this whole thing. I love that you've shared so much of this with me. Do you have anything? I know you're short on time now. I mean, I'm looking at the time and I'm thinking, okay, we probably got to cut. I don't want to cut. I don't want to cut. I'm having so much fun. I hope you had a good time. I hope you had a good time.
Absolutely, yes.
What can you share with anybody? Right now, I know you have a website, correct? Wynter Rhys. And now, come on, is Wynter Rhys your real name?
It is my real name, I promise. Thank you so much.
Why? You know
I'm really lucky. I'm Native American, so my parents really wanted to give me a name that honored that, and Wynter is, it's part of, Earth and everything like that. But they spelled it Wynter because of also our Welsh background, and the Y, stands for friend of peace, and So it's crazy name, but I love the story behind it. And,
Yeah, and it's Rhys, R-H-Y-S.
Yes, R-H-Y-S. People, that is W-Y-N-T-E-R R-H-Y-S.
.com.
.com, yes.
Right.
The quickest way to reach me, though, for now is through Facebook. So you can definitely get a taste of my work from my website, but I really love talking to you guys, and when people pick my brain like today, I absolutely love it, and I also love to see what you guys have going on, and what kind of collaboration is everything in film. So
yeah.
I love to collaborate.
Do you have a fan page on Facebook or just your personal page?
Just my personal page, but it is becoming more of a fan page because of the amount that I'm putting out, and the amount of feedback I'm receiving is so much bigger than my personal communications on Facebook. So I feel like I should. I plan on making my whole Facebook page into sort of a page personal hybrid. That's kind of wrapped up into one.
Right. Do you communicate on any other platforms like Twitter or Pinterest or I don't know, Instagram?
Yes, I can be found on Instagram. My username is the same as my my name on Facebook, so it's just WYNTERRHYS. That's Wynter Rhys. And Twitter. My Twitter page is undergoing some repairs right now.
Okay.
So
did you have some crazy people on Twitter? Because Twitter is the land of the troll.
It is land of the troll. That is true. No, I just surprisingly, for being a millennial and for being on Snapchat and all this stuff like that, I'm not as Twitter savvy as I should be.
Okay.
So I need to really. I feel like I'm obsessed with professionalism, and I feel like I need to refine my Twitter page.
Yeah.
Before it gets to where I want it to be.
I mean, I think it's really wise to use as many platforms as possible, but if you can't embrace them in the way that they're sort of designed for, it's a waste, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Well, thank you so much, Wynter. I'm just thrilled, and I'm stunned that you would honor me and get together. I think this is really, really killer, and I'm going to wish you the very best, and I'm going to support you. I know a lot of people I think I can connect you to and bring some value to you. So
thank you so much. That would be an honor.
Is that cool?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you guys for your time.
Yeah, you are a rock star. You fit in the category really well. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Back at you.
Bye.
Bye.